26. I'm Paula, Jasper. Today we're in Petoskey, and joining me is Stephen Breda, a man who decided to paddle the coastlines of all of the Great Lakes. Thanks for joining me, Stephen.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, first, the obvious question is, why did you decide to do this?
I had been working kind of a sedentary job. I was a photographer and driving a lot, and just decided to make a change. And I'd always wanted to take a long self-propelled trip, and the canoe suddenly just jumped out as the answer. So I took off, quit my day job, and spent summers, over about 7 summers, paddling all the Great Lakes.
Now, you did this alone.
I did. I had tons of help, of course, but as far as paddling goes, I was on my own. A few times people would join me for a day or two. And then, as I said, I had lots of help, primarily from my wife, in terms of supplying me and meeting me and you know, giving me inspiration to paddle on.
Now, obviously, the equipment that you used is a huge part of it. Tell us about the canoe.
This is a Kruger canoe. Most people, when they see it, think it's a kayak, because it has a very similar look to it. It has a rudder, these covered front and back, but unlike a kayak, this cockpit area is much bigger, which enables me to get gear in and out a lot easier, and also sleep in it. I can take the seat out and sleep in it up on the beach. And what else is similar? I guess the real distinction is I use this canoe paddle, and that pretty much makes it a canoe as much as anything, I guess.
Now, you pretty much camped all along the way.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of gear before the trip, and I'd been doing backpacking and things. Paddling on big open water like this was new to me, but I'd done river trips and backpacking trips, so I had a lot of that gear. And then had to figure out the food. I tried to carry about a month's worth of food at each, at a time, and just things I learned on the way. I eventually came up with a system where I could pitch a tent on the top of this canoe, so that I could sleep in the canoe, have this single wall tarp thing that would go over it, and then it had a bug net inside of it. So that was something that, toward the end, I had it pretty dialed in.
Pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you had some pretty remote areas. There was times where you didn't see other people?
Yeah, probably Michigan's Upper Peninsula and Lake Michigan. There's a long stretch of Lake Erie that was pretty remote, and then the Lake Superior was quite remote, especially the northern shore, the Canadian shore, Puckasaw National Park, and there's a wilderness area to the east of that, and actually that whole north shore of Superior. I was, when you're approaching it from the water, there's a lot of hiking trails, but from the water itself, you land in a lot of spots and islands, of course, that are, pretty much people-free.
Interesting. Now, I think people are probably wondering, okay, you're going for days on end without seeing other people. What do you think about what's going on in your head?
What am I? Just all kinds of things run through my mind. Watching the birds is fascinating, the water, and on windy days, you kind of keep pretty focused. It's almost like being in rush hour traffic with some big waves, and they're all coming at you. I think about my family. I think about the world events. I think about what I'd like to do in terms of fix up gear through the day. A lot of times I'll just spend an hour figuring out knots and ropes, and I don't know. It's just sort of stream of consciousness almost.
What's next?
Well, I mentioned to you earlier that I have been putting off painting the house for 7 years, so that's gonna happen. And Ruth and I have been talking about paddling the connecting rivers, the rivers that connect each of the lakes. So that'd be the St. Mary's River, the Detroit River, Lake St. Clair River, Niagara River, and maybe even Lake St. Clair. We might do some of that. But mostly kind of appreciate the beautiful place I live in for the summer too. We live right here on Lake Michigan, and I'd like to spend some time with Ruth around here next summer. I'm really looking forward to that.
Thanks for joining me, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Paula, Jasper, -26 in Petoskey.